So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you're located. Welcome to 737 Aviation. And welcome today to our actually third flight on X-Plane 11 using the Zibo mode, which is actually freeware add-on to X-Plane 11. Today we'll be flying, as you see, as a TUI Fly from Malaga, so the place we finished last sector, and gonna be flying down to La Palma in Canary Islands, not to be missed with Las Palmas or Palma de Mallorca. So La Palma is quite a small island, probably the most westerly, one of the most westerly islands in Canaries. And she's famous lately for last couple of weeks already, unfortunately, because of the volcanoes activity on the islands. So today we'll be flying down to La Palma, which is quite an unusual destination. Usually, if people flying down to Tenerife, and they fly from Tenerife down to La Palma with local airline called Binter. Okay, so I hope you can hear me quite well, or at least satisfactory. So good evening everyone once again. I see quite many people already. And to the beginning, I would like to thank you for quite a big attendance and good feedback on the streams, which I didn't expect, to be honest. I thought it's like gonna be a single time stream and we'll finish it up, but I'm quite surprised. Anyway, thank you very much. So, starting with the very beginning, it looks like this. We are on stand 54 down in Malaga. We're gonna be flying VATSIM, and as I saw, we have quite many VATSIM controllers today. At least down here in Malaga, we have the approach controller and then Madrid control. So we're gonna have at least some coverage in the beginning, and maybe somebody will switch on later down in Canary Islands. Okay, I'm gonna give you this widget, which gives you flight data and the progress one, but I do it later after we finish the cockpit preparations, so you basically can see what I'm doing. And yeah, looks like this. We are just arriving to the airplane, and I don't think we need this one anymore. And we are on stand 54. I see this guy coming up, Wizard 39 Charlie, which is Daniel, the guy who flew with us last time. So once we're coming to the airplane, we should see something like this as usual. So cold and dark. Everything is nicely shut down. So we're gonna start with battery on, and we'll switch on the ground power. Starting from that, we're gonna need some minutes to power up all the systems. It usually takes like 2-3 minutes and everything will go up. On the older airplanes, the screens would take like 3 to 4 minutes to power up. On the newer ones, they just go on instantly anyway. Of course, the IRS, which is the most time-taking stuff here. So on the C, align on both ones, and we already done that. So it takes about 7 minutes, maybe on these latitudes would be like 4 or 5 minutes, but the further north or south you're going from the equator, it takes more time. So always take that into account. The second thing I usually do, I put all the lights and all the backgrounds into bright anyway. Even if I'm flying the daytime, maybe not the floodlights, but the backgrounds, the screens, we all put it all into the full bright mode. And And it's a good practice or in some kind of good habit to put all the screens down once you finish, so the next crew is coming to nicely cleaned up airplane. At this point I would check all the documents, which we obviously don't have in the sim, and since we checked the documents, we can check all the systems, like my airspeed warnings. I have to put it a bit more loud, a bit louder. Stall warnings, they won't come up yet because it's too early. They will come up about 3-4 minutes after we put the ground power on bus. Then we go back to oxygen, IRSs, flap lights, and the other test we can do is of course the light test, which basically we will check all the lights are working. Sometimes they not, but on the sim they always working anyway, so I will just skip that. And on the light test they will illuminate all the lights except these ones, and will fire and those 3 fire handles. So those 3, 4 and these ones you have to check separately, and then you put it back to bright. You can do it like pressing the buttons up and down. Those buttons are spring loaded, so they're going to the off position itself. And we do the fire test and the fire test itself, and the wheel fire warning is coming up here, as you see. Yeps. And GPWS test, which is the last one. Press the button, hold it for a couple seconds, and enjoy the show. Hi Bartosz, cześć.
Don't sink. Too low, terrain. Too low, gear. Too low, flaps. Too low, terrain. Light slow. Bank angle, bank angle.
Plus 100.
Yeah, she's almost done.
2500.
Almost done.
1000. 500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20.
And on the test,
Wind shear. Wind shear.
you can hear all the tests like 200, 300, 200, 100.
Ahead.
Even
Ahead.
if the airplane has this option switched off. So every airplane has different options. So it's not necessary that you will have 50, 40, 30, 20. Some will just go 50, 30, 20, 10, and some will just go 50 and then become silent. So that's depending on the airline and the configuration of the airplane. On Zibo, I believe you can change that in the options. I'm not sure, but I believe I did that something. Yeah, should be summer display variants, maybe. Exterior blended. Yeah, we could have the split winglets. On TUI we can have these winglets, like the max looking winglets. And displays, not really FMS. Callouts, yeah, you can basically switch on and off all the callouts. So, as you say, it's not so easy on the real one, but the maintenance can do it for you if the airline decides so. So now I can do the stall warning tests. 1 and 2. Awesome. So going back to fly deck and to the seat, actually I go the pumps on. And today, I didn't say that before, I will use the standard Boeing procedures, not Ryanair procedures. So if you saw the previous streams, you can spot the difference itself. We're gonna be flying 350, and I go lights steady, ignition from the right, and initially around 8,000 feet-ish. We'll double check that in a second. Flight directors on, RTO. I check the takeoff warning config, and then I did everything down here. I don't touch the trims, although I should, but if I touch the trims then the sim is going nuts. So I should do that, but I won't because of the simulator. Position initialization, we are at Lima Echo Mike Golf, Malaga, and we go from GPS left as always. That's the most accurate position. GPS left, right is considered less accurate for some reasons, so we should always use GPS left on the beginning. Going back to route, we go to Malaga and we're gonna fly to Golf Charlie. So Africa, Canaries, and Lima Alpha. So La Palma. And I do have the flight plan. And if you want to take a look and follow with me on the flight plan, you have the flight plan in the link below the video. And additionally, you have the checklist that I'm going to be using on this flight. So once we get to the cruising altitude, I will tell you and show you the differences between the checklists. So that's gonna be the checklist we're gonna be using today. You can find it on in the link, and that's the flight plan itself. And yes, we go from Malaga to Golf Charlie Lima Alpha as TUI 42 Hotel. I'm just got used to flying as a something 42 Hotel because real life I'm flying Honda, which has this call sign, and I don't want to mess it up. We're gonna need 9 tons of fuel, so I'm gonna take 9 tons, maybe 9,200 kilograms, let's say. 9,200. That gives me some extra in case we need to go do one misapproach or something, because La Palma is quite complicated airport anyway. And going back to config, 189, and they have male weight. Yeah, so they use on charter flights, they use 76 on both, 35 for kid and 0 for infant. So if you are younger than 2 years, you are basically weightless in terms of load sheet. So payload, and we go 27, 42, 36. What is MFK? Male female kit, okay. I checked it last time anyway. Yeah, my memory is not long enough. It's not long like I was younger. And I do have like 1 ton of cargo in front. So the takeoff weight should be around 67.5 ton. And I'm gonna call the fuel truck. And the shell guy is already here. So he's fueling approximately 800 kilograms per minute. So it will take about 4 or 5 minutes until we get refueled. Okay, once we done that one, we gonna do the flight plan as we talked before. And the flight plan is in the link below the video, and actually you have it here as well. Malaga, expected runway is 31, so there's gonna be quite a long taxi in here. But maybe we can ask for the different runway. It's actually quite windy, I guess. So before we go with the flight plan, I go with weather request, Lima Echo Mike Golf, and send that. Because it might be quite windy today. It's like southern Spain would be usually quite windy on this kind of days. And yeah, we can waiting for the weather. I will tune in the Malaga approach, so we will see what's happening around. Is the approach controller up or not? Okay. It seems he's off, so a Malaga approach. What's the frequency on that? Not files, but if we go to airport, Lima Echo Mike Golf, and approach frequency 12385. 12385. And we're gonna go from come on, so we can hear something. If he's talking, we can hear him, but nearby controllers, approach departure tower, Malaga 80s 120375. Okay, I have this. Wind is variable, 4 knots, so actually we shouldn't be a big deal. 1016 is QNH, and we go 1016. 1, 2, 3 times. They synchronize in the same, just because it took me too long to set all the altimeters separately. 120375. 120375. Yeah. One, 20375.
Temperature 18, 2.13, QNH 1017. This was Costa del Sol Airport ATIS information, Charlie. Advise on initial contact. You have information, Charlie. This is Costa del Sol Airport ATIS information, Charlie. At time 1830 Zulu. Departure runway 31. Arrival runway 31. Expect ILSZ approach runway 31. TL070. Wind 060 at 5. Wind variable between 0 and 0 and 120. Kazakh. Temperature 18. 2.13. QNH 1017. This was Costa del Sol Airport ATIS.
Yeah, so we know something. Enter routing PMOS, Upper November 869. So going back to route PMOS. And Upper November 869 down to Rabat. Romeo Bravo Tango. Then Mabap, Mike Alpha Bravo Alpha Papa. And then we go direct to Rusik, and activate, execute departure arrival. We go to departures 31, and we go to PMOS to Papa, most likely. We select that one, and on arrivals I select just anything to have it in the FMC. So I know the distance and the fuel consumption. Going back to the first page, cost index 50. That's quite unusual. If you flew Ryanair, they use 6 as always. Reserves are 2.3, 2.7. 2.7. Zero fuel weight would be from these 62 tons, but if we go to performance and payload, 58.5, 58.5. And have you finished fueling? Yes, you have finished fueling, so we put the seatbelt sign on. And then we go back again to the flight plan.
The captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. Please recheck the security of your seatbelt.
Cruising altitude 350. That's gonna be 350 in here, and 350 here on top, which is set. And cruising wind 27919, 279 by 19. ISO deviation gonna be +2, which is, you know, the higher the temperature, the worse performance we have. So it's not too bad. It could be like +15, but +2 is quite fine. 18 degrees, and we're gonna use full takeoff power just in case we have some terrain around. And take off from flaps 5, let's say, or even flaps 1, because why not? It's not too heavy. And yes, flaps 1, and I have 144, 46, 55, and 155. It's gonna be set. And that's done. Now we can jump into the charts. I just recently discovered that I do have charts down in the iPad here. I can integrate the Navigraph with Avitab, so I haven't known that I actually have all these charts available here. Airport, yeah, that's a long list of charts. We are just in here. We're gonna need to taxi all the way down to Romeo 6 probably, and holding short at hotspot 1 here at Romeo 1. And then departure gonna be yeah, Malaga. Enter. List, departure, and we're talking about the PIMOS, which PIMOS we're talking about? 2 Papa, PIMOS 2 Papa, which is just on this page. And PIMOS 2 Papa will be starting from runway 31, so inbound Malaga Golf Mike, which is 350. And I don't have ADF, I do have ADF. Awesome. 350 set on active, and I put it on the ADF so I can see it. The blue arrow will show me the ADF itself. We start on heading to 313. 313, and I set it down in here as well, 313. Yeah, of course. I could do it easier way. And then we go to the right, max 210 on heading 154. And that's all in the FMC, heading 154 to intercept radial 213 to PIMOS 213. Inbound to PIMOS, and that's radial from Malaga 1120. So I need to set 1120 on nav, let's say 1. And actually, why not to do it on nav2 as well. And that's active on both sides, and we're gonna follow the radial 214. So I set 214 on this. And it's set. so I believe that he's not up here. So we go to Madrid 132350 and 132350. Madrid, muy buenas, TUI Fly 40 Hotel. Yeah, I don't have any response here. But can I hear something? I definitely should hear something because I have the... Yeah, the settings are good, so 13375 perhaps. Madrid to fly 40 Hotel.
Station calling, again call sign.
TUI Fly 42 Hotel in Malaga, just for radio check initially.
2Jet42 Hotel, reading you 5, good evening.
Good evening, sir. TUI Jet 40 Hotel, stand 54, information Charlie, request clearance down to La Palma.
2Jet42 Hotel, currently information Delta. You are clear to La Palma's file of runway 31, PIMOS 2 Papa departure. Initial flight level 900, squawk 4411.
Clear to destination PIMOS 2 Papa, initially 900 with squawk 4411, 2 Jet 40 Hotel, gracias.
2Jet Forces Del, read back correct, request for start and pushback.
We'll call you for push and start 40 Hotel. So, we're gonna set 90, PIMOS to Papa, and squawk 4411 is set.
Adelante, 87 Wiki Romeo.
And we can go with N1 limit takeoff on this side and legs on this side. And we'll be basically running all the checklists now, so I have to put it a little bit down. It's
Iberia
just
87 Wiki Romeo, ningún problema. Posterior enojosa, directo Clana.
a bit too loud for me, so yeah, now should be awesome.
Iberia Express 3955 Madrid.
Adelante, Express 3955.
Iberia Express 3955 para cortar su aproximación puede ya proceder directo Tobek en descenso para 5000 sobre el IAF con altímetro 1020.
Muy bien, pues
Off the guy for a second so we can run the before the pre-flight before start checklist in, let's say, silence. So the Boeing is having, let's say, quite a short checklist compared to Ryanair, and I will show you that one after we get to the cruising level. So pre-flight checklist, oxygen test to 100%, and I do test it on both sides. Instrument cross transfer switch is normal auto. Window hit is on. Precision mode selector, important one, is auto. Flight instruments are set. Parking brake is set. Engine start levers are cut off. And before start checklist flight deck door, yeah, we can start closing everything up. I guess they would be all on board by the time. So we are running on the APU, the parking brake is set, so we can basically remove the GPU, remove the chocks, and close all the doors. On this kind of charter flights, the most time-consuming thing is the baggage loading. So basically, you're gonna be all ready and set up, and you still have the doors open. So they're gonna be they're gonna be putting the luggage in long after you finish all the pre-flights. But yeah, for the sake of the stream, I just assume that was quite a good ground crew, and they have closed and set everything. So once we done that, we close the flight deck door and we go back to the checklist we do. Closed and locked, and fuel. We should have at least 8.9. We do have 9.1, and we have 4 pumps, and we can have actually 6 pumps. So we wait for the low pressure to go off. Passenger signs are on, windows are locked. That's a critical point again, so the windows don't slide open during takeoff. MCP is all set, and auto throttle would be armed. On Boeing procedures, on Ryanair procedures, they wouldn't arm it yet. And takeoff speeds, I have 144, 146, 155, 155 is set on the MCP. CO pre-flight completed, and legs on the right side. Red alarm trim free and zero taxi, Jacob ring complete, and non-collision light is on, so we can call for push and start. But before that, I will just pre-plan pushback on the things I do expect to be. So I do believe I will push back from 5-4 and go somewhere next to Lima 2 release point. Actually, it's not a release point, but I believe I'm gonna go just somewhere, a beam, the stand.
Ground to cockpit, can acknowledge. Coming through the menu when you are ready.
He even speaks a bit Spanish accent. So, better pushback. I request pushback.
Ground to cockpit, Tau is driving up.
Tau. Yeah, that's too realistic. So, APU bleed is on. And I just checked if the... yeah, it's connected. I was not sure if the joystick is connected itself. So basically I'm in the hotel in Germany, next to Düsseldorf, so today streaming out of the hotel. And I have my portable, let's say, streaming set. So I do have a laptop, small joystick, small headsets, and extra screen on my company iPad. So yeah, the most of my streams or videos I usually do out of the...
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
out of the hotels, so I have to be portable or mobile or something. Okay, doors are all closed and everything is ready. So once the guy is driving up, I can go for push and start. So frequency is just to check if we are on the correct frequency. Yeah, come on. And Madrid, 2 jet, 4 jet, stand 5 for Malaga, request pushback and startup, please.
Tau connected and bypass being inserted. Release parking brake.
If I'm still on the frequency, 13375. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, he just went all offline, so that's too bad. Even if the VATSIM live map is saying that he's still up.
Good evening, Center, Iberia 1557, flight level 330.
Ah, he's off. He's just off. So anti-collision light on. Parking brake set, transponder out off, and I go to Unicom 1228.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
And once we clear for pushback, parking brake released.
Starting pushback and you
Time
may
is
start
41.
engines.
Alright, we've got everyone strapped in. Give us a ring if you need anything.
So guys, once again, hello, welcome aboard, and welcome to the stream. If you are new to the stream, I'm happy to see you, and of course welcome again if you have been flying with me before. Today flying to La Palma in Canaries. The flight time is approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we're flying 737-800 obviously, and that's TUI Fly, TUI Jet, and we do have these new winglets available, so it makes it looks a bit like Max, even if it's not. So we switch on the hydraulics, and once we're starting pushing back, we can start engine number 2 and 2. Oil pressure N1. Add some fuel. Fuel flow is rising, temperature is rising. Hi Ludo, what do you mean which config I'm using? What do you mean by config? .56, static out, 2 stable, clear on the left, starting engine number 1. But before I start
Malaga
number 1,
traffic, Welling 39 Charlie, preparing
we can do like
startup,
this.
expected taxi runway 31.
Packs on, so we can do single pack operation, so they have some cooling. As you see, one of the arrows is actually getting up. And start engine number 1 and 2. Oil pressure N1. And we have 25%, so I'm gonna add up some fuel. Fuel flow rising, EGT rising, and yeah, it looks like it's a good start, but we have to monitor the EGT. And I will tell you the specs just in a second, so.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Yes, parking brake is set.
Disconnecting tow. Standby.
You will see that he's actually lowering the airplane, so it's the flight deck is moving. And yes, since we have 2 good starts, we go this on bosses start switches continuous. And yeah, we have 2 good starts. You can go to the left. Auto, auto, auto off. And flaps 1 for this departure, so we don't mess up. And flight controls. Do it nicely and slowly. Full forward, full back, full left, full right, and rudder, left,
Tow is disconnected
center,
and bypass pin has
right,
been removed. Hand
center.
signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
And we wait for the signal and then do the before taxi checklist. Yeah, I'm just gonna answer your questions in a second, guys. Do the before taxi checklist, and before we actually start moving, I will try to answer the questions. Yes, this guy is there, and he has this little pin in the hand. If he wouldn't have the pin, and he will leave the pin in the actual nose wheel, you wouldn't be able to retract the landing gear after takeoff. So that's a big issue. Before taxi checklist, generators are on, probe heat is on, anti-ice is not required, obviously, isolation valves are auto, engine start switch is continuous, recall is checked, engine start levers, idle detent, flight controls checked, ground equipment clear on my side and clear on the right side. And now I can move back to the airport and we can go to 10-9. We're gonna be taxiing straight ahead and to runway 31. 2 jets, 4 hotel taxiing to runway 31 via Alpha and gate 6. Parking brake released.
Sorry, I'm ready to push.
Config. Yeah, so I'll take gate 11 then, so I'm not blocking you, 2 jet, 4 hotel. Now, I used to fly for Ryanair, but now I moved to business jets, if you're asking for that. And you're asking me to check the weight and fuel.
Traffic, Ryanair Bravo Papa, Runway Hotel Sierra 1 departing, runway
Yeah,
31.
67.4.
2 Mike, larger traffic.
And here is pretty much the same, 67.4. So Flaps 1 we have, and we can start moving. So, you're using the portable PC, what specs do you have? So I do have actually MSI GL75, and it has some 2070, the graphics card, and the specs are not really awesome, but it's enough to fly on X-Plane and MFS, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. And yes, it's making a lot of noise. You might hear it as well. So the fan is really efficient, but it's super loud. Yeah, clear on the left. And of course we taxi slowly to the runway. And I'm not really good in the computers, so I do hope I answered your question somehow. And I know I have the Intel Core i7. I think it's the 10th gen or something. Nothing really awesome. Yeah, I'm actually on laptop, so it's a gaming laptop. I'm not getting my full PC. Yeah, sounds about right what you're saying. MSI 75 with 2070 or 2080, but I think it's 2070. And where are you from, folks? Where do you come from, guys? Import more jello, please. Is this channel going to full sim now? Maybe not full sim, but I will do some sim flying, and I was thinking to do this some sim tutorials, like, you know, virtual or like virtual type rating or something. Like we're doing that on the Polish channel on the sim, and it has really good feedback. We have about 30 episodes about flying a 737, about the details. So it's not like full sim, but we do expect quite a lot sim flying in the very near future. España, ellas Cordona Lozano. That's nice. I'm sitting in Germany. It's super cold down here, so I'm quite jealous. Kaper, that I know. We met before on my Polish channel, so happy to see you here as well. France, that's nice.
Welling 39 Charlie, taxi holding point runway 31, Malaga traffic.
So we stop before the runway. Yep, we stop before the runway. We're gonna set parking brake and go to Avitab charts. Checklists. So before takeoff checklist, I have flaps 1, 1, 1, green light, and I switch off the lower DU. Stop trim is, yeah, I didn't set the stop trim, it's 20 CG, 20.1 actually. 575 and 575 is coming, and if it's in the green band but it's not set correctly, you will be able to take off normally anyway. But you should set it as it is. And that's before takeoff check is completed, and before we line up, we go with landing lights on, strobe lights on, transponder TA array, and we're gonna ding dong the cabin crew so they know that we are departing. And yes, I'm gonna answer your questions after we take off. So we'll try to get more focused a bit. So basically, past the center line, if you're lining up 90 degrees towards the center line like this, you have to pass it really, really far away. And then once you're like almost out of the runway in here, you start turning, you will line up almost perfectly. So you need to pass it a lot. It's a long airplane, it's 36 meters, 39 meters, so the wheelbase is big as well, so there we go. Let's say quite nice lineup. And takeoff. So timing, we go to 40%, stabilized, set takeoff thrust. And once you're gonna be airborne, take a look on the FMA, what's happening with LNAV and VNAV.
$80 knots.
Checked.
V1, rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up and rotate to 15 degrees. LNAV is on. At 400, VNAV will come up.
400.
Malaga traffic, Welling 39 Charlie, line of runway 31 and departing.
Little
1000.
bit of trim. 1000 is checked. Autopilot in command. And you can see it's actually increasing the speed itself. You don't need to go bug up or something. But since this turn is 210 knots, we cannot retract the flaps fully. We have to stay on flaps 1 all the turn. Yeah, I flew Microsoft Flight Simulator a couple of days ago, and the graphics are way different on the other one, but for now it's unfortunately just the graphics. The physics and the add-ons they have, it's nothing really special yet, at least. But hopefully the PMDG is going to release 737, which would be absolute game changer on this one. So hoping for that, to be honest. And this turn we have to finish at 210, not 230, so I go back to 210. And once we are actually clear of any traffic and there is no ATC, I can go to 350 straight ahead. So set once, twice, and 350 here 3 times, monitoring 1215. I don't need that one anymore, so I just put it back. And we can go with standard. So standard is set, and we're passing 60 climbing to 350. And I'm gonna give you some data now. There we go. So once we finish this right turn, we don't have any more speed restrictions. We can go back to VNAV, and the VNAV will command you to go 230 knots instantly. And once we pass the flaps 1, we can go flaps up. Flaps up, no lights, and we do the after takeoff checklist. So engine start switch is going to be off, gear is up and off, and transponder going to mode Charlie. Yeah, I did it. After takeoff, engine bleeds are on. Packs are auto, landing gear up and off, and flaps up, no lights. After takeoff checklist completed. So
traffic, Welling 39 Charlie after departure runway 31, passing 4,000 feet.
So as you noticed, probably I'm not using the checklist on the yoke. I'm using the paper checklist, which usually would be printed and it would be just in here, but we'll talk about this in a couple of minutes. And we're passing flight level 100, so 10 checks. Fuel is balanced. We have 6 pumps on. Lights are coming back to off. APU is off. Air compress. 3.8. Cabin's climbing. And it is all set. And passengers, we can release the passengers. Check the recall, and once we do that, 10 checks are complete, we can basically unstrap the seat belts and enjoy the flight. So, since there is no ATC and no traffic so far, I do have some minutes to answer your questions. Why do you remove the video of ground in Tel Aviv? Did the company force you? So basically I had some, let's say, new personnel in the company, the management has changed and I had to remove that one. Cool, this is great stuff. I still have the Warsaw video sent me years ago. Warsaw video. I have like 3 Warsaw videos, and yeah, I still do have some landing videos that I haven't published yet, but we'll see. Maybe in some future they will come. I mentioned another YouTube channel. Can someone drop a link into chat? What YouTube channel I did mention? What was it about? I probably know it, so I just forgot it, and just remind me and I will drop you the link. Microsoft Flight Sim is known for bad flight model. Yeah, that's actually, I was flying some VFR flights on MFS, and it's not too bad. If you're flying at Cessna 150, it's, let's say, acceptable. It's not, of course, amazing, but it's still acceptable, unless you're trying to do spins and stalls and all this crazy stuff. It's doing well, but when I started using, I tried, I think, 787 or something, and it was just disgusting, so it was terrible. Are you using reshade? Yes, I do have some shader on, because I have installed some freeware shaders, and once I get to the night time, you basically cannot see anything in the flight deck, so I have to install some reshades. Yeah. So maybe on the next stream, would you use the old Honeywell MCP and analog standby instruments? Yes, but I don't have this update of Zibo, because I have installed the new update of Zibo, and it was crashing the sim for some reason with the streaming software. But if you want, I do have 737-300 and 737-200 actually, so we can try to fly a 737-300. I used to fly a 400, so I flew classics, and the 300 I have here is, I think it's XEC or something like this. It's really well made, so it's even better than Zibo. We can do 737-200. And okay, more Jello. You said on the Polish channel, lol. Yes, the other channel I have, it's named Captain Speaking, and I will drop you some link, and actually you will see, guys, what we did achieved on the Polish channel. So basically we even managed to do the full flight sim live stream, which was quite, let's say, I tried to be modest, but it was quite a thing. So Captain Speaking live. Give me a couple of secs. Yep, sir. There we go. Copy. And I hope the quality is acceptable of this stream, because I'm of course on the hotel, so I don't really have anything to talk about my internet, but I think it's quite well. So I have sent you a link what we did on the previous streams, so take a look on that one later on. So maybe one day we can do that in this one. It was awesome. Okay. So do you maintain your 737 type rating? Yes, I do actually. I left the airlines completely, but I do maintain 737 type rating. I think it's quite worth to maintain it, because, you know, you never know where the life is going. At the moment, during the pandemic, you don't want to be back in the airlines, especially down here in Europe. Like my colleagues who stayed in airlines, they basically flying like 20 hours a month or something. So I'm flying like 20 hours a month, but I'm getting paid every month regardless if I'm flying, so it doesn't really matter. So at the moment I wouldn't go back to the airlines at probably any cost. But you never know, maybe in 3 years I will go back. So, on the right hand side you can see something interesting, which is Gibraltar Airport. And that's one of the few airports in the world which is actually crossed by the street. And that's a huge mountain, and this mountain is one single place in Europe where the monkeys are living, except some southern France places, but I won't say it. Yeah, I already said it, so probably gonna be banned from YouTube. Haha. Master caution fuel. Center pumps off, and after we have master caution we always recall it once again. So there is nothing coming up. Top of climb. It's gonna be next point, next waypoint. And if you jump into the other link I gave you, you can take a look, and on the other link, on the other channel, you can see as well we have the virtualne type rating, which is a simulator type rating. So if you like the channel, one day we might do this in here, but we haven't decided yet. Still waiting for kind of feedback or something. I will create you some poll in here. And add option 737 200. There we go, guys. So I'm waiting for your answers. And in the meantime, I will Yeah, back on the frequency. So let's get back to the fly deck. And yes, now I can put it a bit louder. So, as we are passing the coastline, we are actually first time in this channel flying over the Africa. Actually flying over Tangiers, and we are flying inbound to Rabat, to the capital city of Morocco. I did like flying to Morocco. It's really beautiful country. So out of all, let's say Islamic or North African countries, you call it somehow. You call it Maghreb countries. I like Morocco. I think the most. So we used to fly to Marrakesh, Rabat, Casablanca, and Agadir. So Agadir is really like freaking desert, but otherwise they really have nice places down here. Is the flight level 350 correct for this direction? I do believe so, and especially we are flying on the flight plan, which is saying that we do have odd flight levels. So I guess we should have odd flight level coming into Canaries. But yeah, you ask a good question. Yeah, I think so. Yes, the answer is yes, we are on correct flight level. Okay. Yeah, we're coming to the east, so. So fellows, if you are watching me first time and if you like the channel, please subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of flights. And perhaps, as we really got quite a good feedback on that, we'll do some more virtual flying in very near future.
Go.
Checked, and we do have 1400 on VNAV, so I don't need to go to VS, although I can go VS. But I can leave it in VNAV if I want to. Okay, but talking about the MCP, when you switch from vertical speed to VNAV and everything, do you know, guys, where should you actually check if the mode is correct or not? Basically, where is the mode? Where the mode should be checked, in here or in the PFD. And in the meantime, I will check the top of climb, which is in the flight plan. The flight plan is in the link, of course. Top of climb, we should have 330, but I climbed to 350 straight away. We should have 7 tons on board. We have 7.4, so we have 400 extra, and we had 200 extra, so we actually saved 200. We should burn 1900 kilograms of fuel until that point. So we click to used, and we have to sum the fuel used here. So 900, 900, we used 1800 kilograms of fuel, and the time to top of climb should be 19 minutes, and we actually at 19 minutes. So we are just on time. The next point is Rabat, and Rabat should be 29 minutes into the flight, and we do expect Rabat in about 12 minutes, so pretty much running on time. And yeah, 6.6 tons of fuel. We still have some extra, and if you see the VOR somewhere en route, like Romeo Bravo Tango Rabat, you can tune in the frequency 16.5, Back in the days, like if you flew in Europe 6 or 7 years ago, let's say it was your duty, it was mandatory to set en route VORs, although not too many people actually did that. So yeah, now you don't have to, as all the routes are RNAV, so PBN based. They based purely on GPS. And yes, back in the day you have to do that. And I don't have the weather radar in Zibo for some reason. Yeah, the 737 Classic on XEC is really amazing. It's awesome. So yeah. But if we move to... where are we moving to? We can go to actually settings. Customize, display variants, exterior, exterior. Airsters, no, I'm not going to play with that. Halogen lights will bring you the old kind of lights, and I believe this airplane should have this kind of lights. Landing lights, we did landing pulse light. That's kind of American stuff. If you go to yes, and you go to LED, let's say, and you switch on the landing lights, you see they like pulsing. So I never saw that in Europe, but yes, that's kind of American stuff. And LED strobes. It's this light. So that's a kind of light we first saw in 787s, and now they put it pretty much on every airplane they see. So that's quite common. But a couple of years ago, if you saw this light, you could be pretty sure that it's a 787. Now it's like plenty of them anyway, so. Systems. Head-up display for captain. Interesting fact, if you put the head-up display in here, it's so big that if you're above 180 centimeters, you're gonna hit your head in this, so that was useless. Probe heat switches auto. That would switch this this little placard from off to auto. And here you have off, and here you have auto. The difference is when the engines are running, even if they are off, they would switch on. So if I go back to auto, probe heat switches auto, you see they on anyway, even if the switch is off. So okay, engine start switches auto, and that's again the same thing with auto or off in here. So basically most of the 787s, they do have the auto start switches. Classics, they used to have the off position, but they have auto. RAS, runway awareness alerting system, on. So that's the system saying on runway 35 or on taxiway or long landing or something. Multi-mode receiver, yes, that's the most annoying thing about the new 737s. They have this kind of radio that you have to type in all the frequencies, and the old one, the old radio was looking like this, the nav radio. So basically this one in here is easier to use than the new one, so I would rather have this one. But the difference is that on this radio, on this radio you can set VOR, ILS or GLS that you cannot set on the classic radio. Cellco, com radios, etc., displays chrono digital seconds. So that's just matter if you put chrono on. and if it has seconds or it doesn't have seconds, so full minutes. So they usually have seconds. Range rings, fuel gauge. This fuel gauge is the old one. This one is better because it has totalizer. You don't have to calculate it. Yeah, but that's it. I think I will do some separate video how to set this add-on after I actually how say it, after I update the Zebo itself. I can do some tutorial about that. Why not? It has plenty of options, as you see, and this one is quite, let's say, extensive, so you don't want to play that when in flight. Anyway, what did I promise to you? I promised you to tell you the difference between the Ryanair checklist and the Boeing checklist. So that's the Boeing checklist that is pretty much in every single airline using 737s except Ryanair, which has a different checklist, and every single checklist that is not the same like this has to be approved by Boeing itself, so they usually just stick with the regular checklists. So as you see, this checklist is quite, let's say, short in sometimes, like pre-flight checklist, and this one is Ryanair checklist. So the major difference is that Boeing checklist, the Boeing version of checklist, is just covering the critical things, so it doesn't really guide you. It's not a procedure, it's a checklist, so you have to do the procedure and then follow the checklist, and it's just asking you about the critical points. It's not really pointing everything. And if you go to Ryanair checklist, it's like twice longer. So pre-flight, before start checklist, and here you have safety inspection and before start checklist. Here we have like total, like I don't know, 15 points, 20 points maximum, and this part of checklists take half of the page, and it's divided by safety inspection checklist, before start checklist, and before start checklist below the line, which you basically do after you get the clearance. So the idea behind it is that Ryanair checklist is basically switching, checking every single point that you should do according to the SOP, even if it's not critical, like PA completed or EFB, airplane mode stowed, phones off. So every single point is basically in here, like ship's library. If you don't check it, of course nothing happens, except you're probably illegal to fly. Okay. Likewise, before taxi checklist, it's pretty much the same. It does have some additional points. And then you can notice that this checklist goes straight to shutdown checklist. And that's because Ryanair has this yoke checklist, and before takeoff checklist has like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points, and regular Boeing checklist has 2 points. So it's just checking the most critical points, flaps and stop trim. Otherwise, in this airplane you will go anyway, you will be able to take off. If you have correct flap setting and you do have correct stop trim setting, you will go. And this one is checking everything: config, flap, stop trim, takeoff briefing. They will go through takeoff briefing once again. Cabin, MCP, transponder, strobe lights, landing lights. So like nothing happens if you don't switch on the strobe lights or landing lights. Then after takeoff checklist, again, it's just a little longer. It's not really too extensive or too different than the other one. But they managed to add 2 points, altimeters, and yeah, basically they just redesigned it. So they split air packs, air compress, and we have engine bleed packs. So that's 1 point. And let's say if you forget altimeters, which are not on this checklist, you will get this amber light, so you cannot forget it anyway, really. Then following to descent checklist, I guess it's one which is actually shorter than the Boeing one. Approach, refuel, install, box check and set. Oh, yeah, it's actually 4 points and here is 5 points, just probably because they didn't fit. Approach checklist, altimeters, and we basically check the altimeters, and this one is altimeters, instrument, set, cross-checked, approach 8, checked and set. So basically it's like, you know, you're saying something that you don't really understand. And the landing checklist itself, this one is pretty much the same, except they have, they checked everything and then they follow down to flaps and then landing lights on as a landing clearance. And once we go to this one, shutdown checklist, this one is super short, this one is super long, and it has these asterisks, which basically means that if you do have asterisks, you do it on every flight, and if you do full shutdown checklist, you do on the last flight, you do all the points. But if you're just doing the quick turnaround, you're just doing the points with the asterisks. And secure checklist is pretty much the same. They couldn't put really anything more. They, yeah, just a little bit longer than the other one. Okay, that's it. That's all about the checklist. I did promise to tell you. So folks, any more questions regarding the 737? I probably can answer you or not answer to you. Maybe you want to know something. If not, I will start slowly preparing myself for the approach in La Palma, Golf Charlie, Lima Alpha, La Palma. And yes, I woke up at 4 today. I was deadheading down to Germany, so a bit tired already. But yeah, I scheduled the stream, so I had to do it anyway because I promised to, so I had to do it. Airport briefing. We basically should go all through these points. Runway 36 shall be used for takeoff and landing whenever the tailwind component does not exceed 10 knots and a crosswind of 25 knots. All aircraft except ATR-72, Canada and CASA and wingspan less than 27 meters must backtrack on runway. Code D and E, that's not really applicable to us. Taxi procedures. Once cleared for taxi, aircraft must start taxiing in less than 60 seconds, otherwise taxi clearance is not valid. So before we start preparing the landing itself, I go to requests. Golf Charlie Lima Alpha. And weather request and send. Nice flight, Captain. Wish you good landing. Best FO. I just wonder who is that. Probably Bartosz. Bartosz. Sorry, I already started speaking weird. So. Okay. Nose for Papa Whiskey. Anyway, nice wishes to you too. Have a good landing. Where are you flying, guys? Actually in flight somewhere probably, yeah? So, once the weather is here, did I send it? No, I haven't sent it, of course. So I could wait for ages on that. And the top of descent is in 578 miles, so it's about 1 hour 20 minutes from now. Yeah, 1:44, yeah, 1:15 actually. Oslo, Kraków. No to bardzo ładnie, pozdrawiam, trzymaj się tam ciepło. And in the meantime we should have some weather available. Reports and requests message. Golf Charlie Lima Alpha 350 at 5 knots, so we're gonna be using runway 36 definitely. 10 kilometers of visibility, scatter 3000, broken 5500 QNH 1019, temperature 22. So we were gonna pre-select the QNH 1022 before I gonna forget that. And I can go to landing performance and set this before I forget that one. 350 at 5 knots, temperature 22, QNH 109. 1019er. I just put some random weight here, 60 tons. Just for later, so if I don't put the weight and I leave the page, it will just wipe out, so I do prefer to put anything. Golf Charlie Lima Alpha and airport. I don't need this page anymore. Parking stands. This page I gonna need. And arrival, we're going to be arriving from which point was it? Konba? No, we're arriving from Rusik. So go will be Rusik 1 Alpha, perhaps. 36, that's Rusik 1 Alpha. And that's gonna be Rusik 1 Foxtrot. That's 1.8, so we're not going to use 1.8. And the approach itself, we need NDB runway 36. And of course we start all the preparations from the very beginning, so it's going to be the same preparations like we'll fly it. So we start from descent page, 250 below 100. Go to forecast, we go 310, 200, 100, QNH 1022. And I need to jump back to flight plan. On the last page of the flight plan you have the winds. So descent winds 25219, 252 by 19. O, dzięki bardzo, Daniel. And I'm maintaining speed actually 7.8 for your info, so 7.8. 1987, 1987. And the last one is 1217, 1217. So that's descent is set. Next is going to be arrival. And we go to arrival page 36. And we have Rusik, Avitap Airport, Rusik, 1 Alpha. Rusik 1 Alpha. And what's the difference between 1 Alpha, 1 Quebec? Yeah, 1 Quebec sounds better for me. It's a bit shorter, so why not 1 Quebec then? Rusik 1 Quebec. NDB 36. And we'll start from point Rusik. I'm still getting messed in the flight deck here, so sorry for that. Rusik, then Laris, and there's no restriction. Flight level 70 or above. Then Tenerife Norte, Tango Fox November. That's the place where two 747s collided in 70s. Then we go to Texel and Araco. And Araco is 4,500 above, so that's nicely there. And that's all continuous descent, so I want to have speed of 100 or 80 knots or below on this turn, so we're not spinning up. If we speed up too much, we just overshoot that and we can get to the rain, so we really don't want it. So moving down to the approach, we do expect NDB runway 36, which is on chart 16-1. I really do hope I'm gonna have some approach controller, but perhaps not really, but maybe they come up. So 350 is final course. 350 on the FO side. I mean, it doesn't really matter on NDB approach, but you want to have it set just for as a memory item. We'll start from 3,400, which should be 3,400, not 3,400 above. And then descend inbound 350 down to minimums off, refer to DA 1440, 1600 for category C, catch Charlie 1600, but I'm gonna add 50 just in case, as it's non-precision approach. So every non-precision approach you have to put at least 40 feet on top. So here we have 1600, here we have 1650, at least 40, but most airlines gonna use 50. That's the reason we have 1650. In case of misapproach, we're gonna go straight ahead and turn right heading 028 and 056. So Araco, we don't really have this arc in here. We should have the arc, but we don't have arc. So it's going to Araco and then straight to final. And it should have this arc from NDB. La Palma 389 Bravo X-ray. 389 Bravo X-ray. Set on active. And what else we can set? 112.4 as the 1224 as the DME. 112.4. That's gonna be on set number 2. And on the approach itself, I have Tenerife Norte 17.7, which I pre-select on 17.7 on my side. Back to active. Going back to fixed page, I go on runway 36 and I give myself rings of 12 and 6 miles. We don't want to really get high speed in here. And this arc that you see here is based on 16 miles from Bravo Victor. So just for reference, I will set 16 miles here. This one is pretty much covering everything, so I will just leave it like it is. I cannot really create the arc, so I would go. What I can go is after Araco, I can create this point like here, and it would be 165, let's say. Bravo Victor 165 by 16 miles and put it after Araco 12.4. So I would have some, let's say, intermediate point here, and then Bravo Victor 140 by 16, and that's on top of this point. So that's the best I can do. I mean, I can create more of these waypoints to create the arc, but it's not really necessary. Yeah, that's what I did, no vote, but thank you very much. That's a good idea. So basically, even if it's on arc, you won't be really able to follow the arc itself. So it's like, you know, some heading, slightly right, some heading, and then go back to final. Okay. One thing I don't like about this point is just slightly too close. So Bravo Victor, maybe 155 by 16, and it's on top of here. Yeah, that one should work a bit more. If this point is too close to here, she will try to overfly and she will overshoot the point. So okay, there we go. But that's a good point, Novo. I guess you're flying quite a lot, or you are a real-life pilot or something, but that's a good point, mate. So once we did the approach, we go to landing itself, we go to progress. We are going to burn 3.1 ton of fuel, which will go 61.7 as a landing weight, 61.7. 61.7, and let's check the performance for that. 61.7, 61.7. I have 36 to 50 dry, 3535, 1019 flaps 30 initially, and auto brake 3 gives me 1,800 meters. The runway is 2,000 meters, so I don't really want to be as close to the end of the runway. So I would go with flaps 40, which gives me extra 100 meters, which is still something. So we go flaps auto brake 3, flaps 40 plus 5, 142 VREF, 142 in here. And landing distance available is 2,088 meters, and we have 1656, so 1,700, 2,000, still 300 meters, some space available. Do you know? Okay, good question. Maybe you know what is AD just in here. I guess you're quite a bright person then, or you guys. I believe you're quite. You do have some knowledge, as I saw. So, what does the AD stands for, and what does it mean actually? What is it? EASA PPL, hopefully soon to be EASA ATPL. Yeah, hopefully yes. I think it's a good time to do the license overall. I mean, the market for the new pilots is not really ready yet, but I do believe in a couple of years there will be some jobs, so I wouldn't worry. I would try to do the license. So we're passing just above Marrakesh on the left side. Yeah, it's just a freaking desert. The next plane doesn't look really well, so it's 35 miles outbound, so that's Marrakesh, probably, yeah. It's a big city itself, but it doesn't really look good in X-plane anymore. And then we're going towards the Atlas Mountains, one of the highest mountains in Africa. The highest peak is somewhere next to GMAT, so Agadir, and it's about 4,200 meters. So you don't want to get depressurized over these mountains. Okay, and once we did this performance, we are going to the taxi part. So going back to the airport and to the charts, and we will land on runway 36. We have to roll all the way to the end and then taxi back. We cannot turn back on this runway. We vacate via Charlie and go in front of the terminal somewhere. And that's the briefing which is completed. I'm gonna take stands probably 9 or 10-ish. So, going back to this and fuel weight balance performance landing. So AD stands for air distance, and that's, as you see, basically it's this part. So between touchdown and the threshold, it calculates that you're gonna cross the threshold at 50 feet above the airport there, the threshold elevation. And if you cross at 50, you should touch down 332 meters behind the threshold. So that's the calculation. The difference is that in EASA countries, the aiming points is at 100, 400, I think 40 or 50. So if you follow the aiming point, you get 100 meters less than this. So you really want to be touching down as soon as possible on this kind of short runways. Approach rating not available yet. And of course, in this kind of runways, you want to use forward reverse because of the brake cooling schedule, so you don't want to overheat the brakes. And obviously, you want to stop. So the runway is 45 meters wide, so it's not really a threat. And if we are, guys, ready for the briefing, that's gonna be quite a short briefing. The weather is good, aircraft status is good, no really specific NOTAMs, and the threats is a non-precision approach, and we do have some terrain left of the airport, so westbound. And I would say the other threat would be the Volcano, which is actually erupting, but that's the same, so that's not the point. Descent is set. In forecast, I do have the winds. Approach, we went through the approach. We already did it together, so I don't have to go through that again. Landing wise, we checked all the weights and we calculated performance, and the approach itself, NDB runway 36, it's actually NDB DME because we do have DME La Palma in here. So we're gonna start from Araco, then 60 miles arc, 350 on both sides, down to minimum 1650, which is just set in here, 1600 plus 50, so 1650, because we have non-precision approach. And in case of misapproach, we go 028, 056 outbound of the NDB, and that's all in the FMC. We're gonna be climbing 3000 initially, then 4500. And that's it. After landing, we backtrack to the terminal, and that's the briefing, unless you would have any questions. And routes. What is routes? I just recently discovered that I can connect Navigraph to this one, so I can see Golf Charlie Lima Alpha. Okay, so he's trying to offer me some routings, but I already have the routes, so I don't need that. And going back to map, we're flying Eskira. Here's quite a big VR as well. Now they have the PBN, so we're not following the VRs, but before we were flying from Rabat to Eskira and then to Canaries, and now we're following just the route Agadir. Some short flight over the Atlantic and go to the islands, and we will be going westbound over Tenerife. We're passing through over the Tenerife Norte towards La Palma, and La Palma is just here. So we still have about 1 hour to descend, 55 minutes to descend, and we should be landing 1507. That's not the real time, so we have 1 hour 15 minutes to landing. I cannot land in La Palma at night, so I had to put the... Yeah, I should put the daytime because I couldn't land in nighttime. And yeah, I see volcanic ash. I'm just wondering if the matter is saying something about the volcanic ash. Requests, messages. No, it doesn't. The most common volcanic ash we see nowadays is of course Sicily. So Etna is quite active volcano. So lately, I mean not lately, but in 21st century, you have some volcanic ash on Sicily, and basically only there, rarely on the other places. Yep, so we got some message in here, but I don't know what was it actually. Clock set, post flight and routes. I'm not sure if any of these buttons are clickable except the requests, but yeah, flight log. Yeah, takeoff at 54, and we do have fuel on board 89. At 41 out, so off clock was 41. That's what I noticed. Yeah, not this one. Okay, back to flight log. Second page, and out of... What's this one? That's the previous one. Yeah, Stansted to Bergamo. That's Innsbruck to Nice, when I was flying to Nice, but was a long time ago, I guess. Or actually was my Polish channel. And yeah, that's all the flights I did. Data link AOC, ATS log reports, miscellaneous menu, tech menu, clock set, post flight route. Nothing that I can click on. And CPDLC doesn't work here. So, the question about which pages should be displayed during the fine approach, and that's all depending from the airline to the airline. And I would say it's quite complicated because the basic Boeing setup that they used to do before was this kind of setup. So you had approach reference on the left on the pilot flying, not on the left. So if the FO was flying, it would be the way around, and legs on this side. But nowadays it's getting complicated, because if you're doing the RNAV approach, you have to monitor the vertical deviation and cross-track error. So one of those pilots should have this page. So some airlines would say progress and legs. So pilot flying progress, pilot non-flying legs. Some airlines would say other way around. So he would have progress and you would have approach reference. And the last thing that you said already, progress page 2, that's the single place you can actually see the crosswind itself, like in the number. So if it's really windy and there is some crosswind, I would go with progress 2, and in RNAV approach I would go this setup, so progress and progress 4. In any other approach I would go like progress and this one. And just for the, flaps 40, speed 40, just to double check that one, and then back to progress 2 or something. That would make most of the sense for me, but it's different from any airline to any airline, so every airline is doing different ways. And Boeing is actually not saying anything about that, except they said approach ref and legs, and you have to monitor the progress 4, and you can check the crosswind on page 2. So that's the Boeing official, let's say, position on that. So you are missing 2 places, like on the new on the new updates. You see the cross-track error and vertical deviation here, but on the older ones you have to check in progress 4. Okay, that's the question. I mean, question. You didn't ask a question, but that's my kind of answer on that. So, anyway, guys, once again, welcome to the channel if there is somebody new. And if you like the channel, please subscribe, so you could see any more videos coming soon, perhaps. And now I see this other guy is coming 30 miles behind me. I don't see him here, but I can tell you that's Daniel. Daniel is flying with me quite often, and he has a channel on board. You can visit the channel as well. And this guy has about 7,000 hours on VATSIM, so he is really heavy flight simmer. And he told me today his goal is to reach 10,000 hours in the next 3 years, so that means he's gonna fly like 1,000 hours a year. That's more than I ever did. I did 850 maximum. So that's awesome. That's awesome. What else? The progress is moving. The performance is moving a bit, so it's still working. And after landing, you will get on the right side of the screen the landing performance, and it will look like this. So I just give you some, let's say, idea that what you will see after touchdown. And this one will last for like 30 seconds. So many people flying in the flight simulators, you're trying, guys, to do the super smooth landings, like to try to reach the rate of 100 feet per minute or something. And you do have to remember that the good landing is not about being smooth, but about touching into the touchdown zone. And if you're getting professional, your every landing should be pretty much the same. So let's say nice positive landing would be around 300-350 feet per minute, and if you do this kind of sim flying, try to hit 350 at every sector, or at least something around. Of course, even if you will have 7 or 10,000 hours on sims and real airplanes, etc., it might happen that you will have a worse landing or better landing, so you never should worry too much, at least. So every good landing is every landing that you can walk away from. It's a good landing. When do you use the chime as reminder for cabin and how to release the cabin crew? So basically, most of the airlines would keep the cabin crew fastened together with the passengers. So let's say you have the seatbelt sign on. We are just after takeoff. And most airlines, or let's say majority of the airlines, will just keep them fastened together with passengers, and like passing 100 or 150 just move back to auto. But some airlines, like for instance Ryanair, who is really, you know, sales, the onboard sales is giving them a lot of incentive, so a lot of income is generated on the sales. So they did estimate that in some bases it's about 20 to 25% of income just from sales. So once you got the after takeoff checklist completed, and then you go ding dong. And some other airlines, if they don't use this method, they go this and this. So they release the cabin crew. And for landing, seats for landing, it's a call out on the PA that you hear quite often, but some airlines will just recycle the seatbelts quickly so they know it's seats for landing. So I hope it was the answer you were looking for. Okay guys, I will be on the chat and I'll be back with you in about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, back on the frequency. So I see the question from Black Cobra. And for what reason do you use the chime only button? So if you know the people, and some of them are, the passengers are more frequent flyers, some are, you know, flying once in a year or first time in their lives. So basically, if you do this, they hear this sound and they just immediately open the seat belts and stand up. And if you press the attend button, it's something, let's say, new or unusual, and basically it doesn't work like this for them. So that's the most likely reason. And if you want to call the cabin crew, just press it twice probably. And some airlines, they use it once, so it's just about the SOP. Okay. So once we are kind of this position, we would probably go into the PA. I don't know if it's level off or descent. I will go level off. And we just passed Agadir, and we already left the continent. And once I'm flying over the ocean, I do have these squares for some reason. I don't know why, but X-Plane started to generate these squares. And did I do the descent checklist? I didn't do the descent checklist. So once you do finish the briefings, you can do the descent checklist. Press station, landing altitude 200. Is it 200? I will double check that. Airport, elevation 108. It doesn't really matter so much, but 108. Okay. Back charts. Recall is checked. Auto brake is 3. Landing data VREF minimum, so VREF 4137 minimums 1650 set on both sides. Approach briefing completed, and that's landing checklist is completed. And the next point we're flying to is Rusik. At Rusik, we checked the fuel at Rusik, just estimate for now. But if we have Rusik, we have 4 tons on board. And if you go to legs, we should be there 14:25. It's in about 17 minutes, and we should have 4.5 ton of fuel. And here we have 4 tons, so basically 500 kilograms of extra, which is not too bad. And if you take a look on the arrival, standard arrival, you can notice then that on Canary Islands the arrivals are really super long. Like in the other airports, like let's say La Palma, if it would be in Europe, the standard arrival would start here and have some points. But this one is basically flying you hundreds of miles, like Rusik to Laris is 106, then you have 80, so 190 miles, 220. It's basically the arrival itself is 250 miles. And if you go to any other airport, I don't know, where I have been, Bergamo, for instance. Bergamo. Next. And you hit any arrival out of that one. Oscar. Whatever. You see Odina. or Oscar. Oscar is 15 miles and 5, it's 20 miles. Full arrival is 20 miles. And in Canaries, they like 250-ish. So that's super long arrivals. And they do expect you for continuous descent arrivals if the traffic permits. So basically, once you start descending, it should be somewhere approximately behind Laris. They do expect you to keep constantly descending until you land. So Airbus calculates speeds automatically when you put weather and minimums on performance approach phase. You're probably right, but I'm not good in Airbus. And this one is calculating the speeds itself, but not really many airlines using this one as a reference. So basically, EASA, so European agency, needs you to double check all the performances. So a part of calculating the speeds in here, you have to have the separate iPad or book or something, and you have to calculate the speeds itself. So did you ever think about doing some shared cockpit flying in sim? I was thinking about that. I was even trying that once, but I'm not really, let's say, fluent in the computers. So I don't know how to do that, and if you do have idea, you can send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and we can give a try, because why not? That might be quite a nice idea. Maybe not for live stream or something, but we could give a try. I tried that before on the MFS 2020, but it didn't really work out, so. And Airbus have a non-continuous descent. What do you mean non-continuous descent? I thought it's like once you start descending, it should be continuous. But you are the Airbus guy, Daniel. You are the Airbus guy. And Daniel is flying in the real time, so I believe he's flying to Tenerife or Fuerteventura. I will find you in a second. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Where are you? Ah, you are here. Golf Charlie Fox Victor, Fuerteventura. Hi, Adrian. So you're saying that Airbus has the option that you put just restrictions in here and it's non-continuous descent, so I guess I do have this option, or maybe I didn't understand what he's saying. Probably I didn't. Okay, I see. I see now. Okay, if you leave me a message would be nice. So I'm probably gonna respond to you tomorrow, because today I'm just, let's say, a bit tired. I flew from very early morning today. Came to Düsseldorf, and from Düsseldorf down to the amazing city of Mönchengladbach. And now I'm just sitting here, so. At Ryanair, the pilots use a different abbreviation after takeoff anymore flap. So I guess you may you want to say during the 10 checks they use fuel, landing lights, air compress, and passengers. I didn't switch off the lights. That's a good one. Ah, because I was playing later on. I don't know. I think they're still using flap. I mean, most of the airlines are using flap. I can tell you that for some reason, my first 737 company was using flap but backwards, PALF, which was exactly the same as flap, but they read it for some reason from the back to front. So they started from passengers, pressurization, air compress, APU, landing lights, and fuel at the end. But fly the words. Good evening, dobry wieczór. How do you say good evening in Ukrainian? I've been there last time. Been to Kiev. Nice city, actually. Dobro wieczora. Dobro wieczora. That's Ukrainian. How much it costs? What do you mean? What's the how much costs what? That's probably I missed the question somehow. And other thing I can tell you, like if you're flying to Canaries and if you're flying over Europe, this route would look like this probably, but then you notice the scale is just massive, so 160, and in the continental Europe you're gonna fly like this and you're gonna have these puffs, so everything is just bigger here. And they're not really happy to give you some directs, so you usually just fly all the way. In Spain they usually don't give you directs, so that's the reason. I think the X-Plane 11 is about 40 euros, and the add-on, the 737, is freeware, so that's nice. And it's really well made, it really flies nice. Dobrovi večer. Dobrovi večer. Yeah, I read like 3 years old in Cyrillic, so. And at the end of the day, the game is not really expensive for what you get. Like, what I'm saying, the X-Plane with this mode and everything, it's really working nicely, and you can get it for like 30 bucks. And obviously, if you want to put all the add-ons and everything, you can just use the countless money on that. And what time we should be landing? You have this progress bar on the top, and it's like stuck on half route. Yeah, because we still have like 50 minutes to land. Yeah, but it should be a bit further. Maybe it doesn't take into account the routing or winds. We'll see. We're landing 59 minutes according to that, and we're landing in actually, yeah, 50 minutes, so not too bad. And I see it's a little bit turbulent all the way, so since we took off and we got to the cruising altitude, it's all the way a bit shaky. Not really much, but it's a bit shaky. If we want to avoid the turbulence, I would go to flight level 410 probably. I mean maximum is 390, so let's say 390. I set 390 here. I set 390 on top, and now once I press this button, she would go just straight to 390. Now she won't. Check out your target. The real one would just change to 390, but this one doesn't, so I go 390 and VNAV speed. But basically, if you have this kind of level and the maximum is 410, the speed margin you have in here would be really small. So in very big turbulence, massive turbulence, you don't want to get close to here. So if you have maximum flight level 400 and you will climb to flight level 400, the margin will be 10 knots. So that's gonna be super narrow. And for every 100 feet you gain of the maximum, you get another 4 knots, so 2 knots. So I can show you 400 initially. I just double check if there is any traffic or something. But if there is no traffic around, this guy is coming inbound, but he's 310. This one is 36. There is nothing in around. Yeah, I guess we can go to 400 quite safely. So 400. I go to 400 on top. And I go on 400 in here. Ah, sorry, that's my bad. What I meant is if it's like 390 here, 390 and 400 here, and you press the button, it will jump to 400. So it's other way around. It's my bad. So we will see once we climb to 400, the lower band will be 10 knots from the upper band. Thank you very much, Adri. And fly the word, you really pilot airlines. I used to fly Ryanair, now I'm flying a business jet, so I don't know if you consider that airline. Yeah, of course, it's kind of airline. But yes. And Daniel is saying I have 15 miles to top of descent, and I do have like 180 miles, so that's a bit further. Fuerteventura, which is in Spanish strong wind, I think so. It's just in here. So here's Lanzarote, Fuerteventura, Tenerife, and La Palma. Sorry, Las Palmas, Tenerife, and La Palma. Yeah, 737 can get to 410. It's 35 to go up to 410. So you can go up to 410, but 410 is really for empty airplane. If you don't have any passengers or anything, then you can go on 410. Otherwise, they usually go 39er, 400-ish. So that's a happy days. We shouldn't be going at level 400 though, because it's even level, and we should go odd level. So I just showed that one and just descend back to 390.
Thousand to go.
And now you see, like, those two lines are getting really close together. So that means the margin is small, and if you hit really high turbulence or heavy turbulence, you can just overspeed or underspeed. And basically it should be 10 knots and this range, but it's just the same. Maybe one of you can check on the PMDG 737, but this one should be more narrow than it actually is. And if you want to trick the computer itself, you can go to the performance page, and there is this little cruise CG 20. Yeah, because of that, the cruise CG default cruise CG is 5%, 5.0. She doesn't even accept it. What about 15? No. So if the cruise CG would be 5, which is default, it would be really narrow. And you can trick the computer by putting the other value. Yeah, actually getting close to the coffin corner. So I can try to climb to 410 and show you how does it look on 410 though. Even if it's saying it's maximum, you can technically climb over that. So I go to VS.
1,000 to go.
So I don't hit any of these. Have you already landed, Bartosz? And Pasek. Yeah, of course, it doesn't move because the app stopped. So now you see it's getting quite narrow. And of course the fuel consumption, as you're climbing, the fuel consumption will go down. So we have 1.39 per engine. And as you climb, you see 138, 137, etc, etc. And then she will put back the throttle and it will go to like 130-ish. And the other thing you can notice that as we're climbing, the air is basically getting still. So higher we go, we're going further from the earth, we don't have any turbulence. But you wouldn't like to be this kind of margin in heavy turbulence. So yeah, that's basically coffin corner itself. 42 knots headwinds, it's not really too heavy, but yeah, on the lower levels we had better winds. So I think I just go back to 370. Cruise, yeah, 370. Sounds better for me, and I don't want to overstress it. 370, and once we're descending, you don't really have to touch the overhead panel because it's already pressurized. So once we start descending, it will go to descend mode. Yeah, that's the same with me, like back in Poland we have like 3 universities about to become the pilot. I mean 3 state universities, but they have like each has 10 positions a year, so it's impossible to get. So what I did myself, I basically went abroad. I used to be a cabin crew on the way, and so I saved money to do the license. So totally worth it, mate. If you want to try it, it's the best thing you can do. But living in Ukraine or Poland or something, it's hard to get. So I can tell you straight away that the easiest way is just to leave, save money, and then get it, or go to the military, but that's the different word. And Daniel is saying that the trick is working on the PMG, so I just wonder how the PMG on FS 2020 would be. Noor is asking, how can you stay in the air if both engines failed at flight level 400? So basically 737 has a really good gliding range. So if the engines would fail on top of descent, you would be able to land at the destination airport without the engines. So you can easily make like 150 miles out of that at least. So basically the altitude times 3, so out of 40 flight level 400 times 3, you have 160 120 nautical miles of gliding. So that means that from this position, if I have both engines failure, I can easily get to Las Palmas. Of course, I could get to this one, but then I would have to do the orbits, which is useless for me, and I would probably go to Las Palmas or even to Tenerife. But Tenerife, it's just on the limit, so I would rather there for Las Palmas. How much time can you stay? So basically, let's go to level change
1,000
and
to go.
go to minimum speed. And we go back to 350, which was our flight plan level. And you will see the descent rate at the minimum speed. Yeah, and the top of descent stands like the point at which, if you go to idle, you won't have to touch the throttles until landing, so you will have the continuous descent all the way down to the destination. So, as you see, if we're descending very slowly, as you asked, for how long we can stay, as we're descending with low speed, the descent rate would be around 1000 feet per minute, so we could stay about let's say at least half an hour. So it's a good glider, at least 25-30 minutes. So you see that one, 1200 ish. Back to VNAV. I don't want to slow down any traffic here. Thank you very much, Fly the Word. How do you calculate your descent profile, elevation, speed, deceleration? So, Chkalov. So the first thing you have to know, or actually you take into account, and the basic rule is that for every 1000 feet of descent you need 3 miles. So if the destination airport is at, let's say, 1000 feet, we have to lose 36,000 feet. So 36 times 3 times 3 would give me 108. Yeah. So the basic rule, if the airport would be at 1000, I would start descending at approximately 110 miles outbound. So that's the basic rule of manual calculation, of course. The other thing is that, of course, you have to take into account that you have headwind or tailwind, and that's more like a rule of thumb. If you have 40 knots headwind, you will start probably approximately 20 miles later than usually. So basically like half of headwind and half of tailwind, but that's like a rule of thumb. And deceleration, of course, you have to take into account that at flight level 100 you will have to slow down, and then you have to slow down just before, so you can add approximately 5 miles to slow down from 280 to 250 at flight level 100, and then add another 3 or 4 miles to slow down at the final. But you can use the speed brakes, which is really helpful. They're quite efficient on 737 in terms of losing speed, so yeah, that's quite easy. But of course the basic rule is that you have the descent page, you put all the data, so speeds and restrictions and the winds, and basically the FMC will tell you when to descend. But if we want to do the quick calculations now, we can take into account that the airport is at elevation 0. So we're gonna need to lose 37,000 feet. 37 times 3 gonna be 111 miles. So in still wind conditions, we would have to start descent at 111 miles. Yes, that makes sense for me. I hope you do follow me. So 37 times 311 miles outbound. And since we have some headwind, 40 knots of headwind, we go minus 20-ish. So half of headwind. That's gonna be 91 miles. And then we have to add 5 miles for deceleration at flight level 100 plus 3 miles on final. That's gonna be 96. So that's approximately 99 miles, let's say 100. And top of descent is in 95 miles. And the total distance is 201, so 105 miles the descent. And the calculation I made was 99, so that's 6 miles difference. But you know, that's the rule of thumb. I hope that's answering your question somehow. And the same comes with the descent speed. Of course, if you're gonna put this descent speed at 240 knots on profile, let's say here you have top of descent in 88 miles. If you reduce the speed to 40, it will jump forward to 68 miles. And if you go to 320, the top of descent will go from 68 back to 87. There you go. Do the pilot do every flight those calculations during descent, or the FMC do it all? So basically, most of the flights, the FMC does it, so we don't really calculate. Of course, we cross-check that. So you will see that you have about 110 miles when you're starting the descent. If you would start descent at 250 miles, or I would have top of descent somewhere here, that's the reason to start calculating that, because something is wrong. So you don't really calculate that exactly, but you know that you should start descent approximately 110 miles-ish outbound, and otherwise you double check that. Why don't you leave a link for financial support for the channel and you? So basically, if I have some donates, I appreciate that, but I'm doing that for fun, let's say. The channel is not my main, let's say, financial income, so I like to do it. I like to fly, I like to explain to people, so let's say kind of aviation charity. 737-8 pilots, Aeroflot. I heard it's nice company actually. A couple of years ago I saw that actually Aeroflot was recruiting non-Russian pilots for the first time, but yeah, why are we staying 370? We should be going 350. That's my bad. And I was even thinking about applying there, but at the end I didn't for some reason. Then the COVID came, so yeah, back to VNF. And flying in Russia is quite more interesting, at least for me, than flying down in Europe. So But it's nice because I was expecting, you know, random guys, like just passing through and coming to the channel, but I see that the community is building up with a lot of experienced guys and a lot of students and a lot of, you know, aviation fans into the aviation itself. So more than happy to welcome you. And of course, if you
go.
like the channel, please subscribe it. So subscription and like under the video is the best support, at least for me. So anyway, thanks for coming, folks. Nice to meet you all. And we'll take a quick look on the VATSIM live map. Yeah, I'm just passing. I just passed Fuerteventura and I'm heading towards Tenerife. Sorry guys. So I just passed the Fuerteventura heading to Tenerife, and Tenerife is just in there. It's a really nice place. So, I mean, the mountain, Teide, it's really impressive. If you fly into Canaries, you can see it from hundreds of miles out. So basically she's like 3,800 meters. But she's 3,800 meters from the sea level, and if you take into account that from the sea bottom she's like 7,000, I think 600 meters, which is like in top 10 of the mountains ever, but it's just covered by sea. So basically all these islands are freaking volcanoes. So you know what's happening now in La Palma. Traffic. Yeah, I have some traffic in here. But I don't have any traffic in the VATSIM, so I shouldn't have it. No, there's nothing around. Good. So we're slowly approaching top of the sand, and yeah, we do have briefings done. We do have the descent checklist done. We can go down to the FMC and check once again the weather from La Palma sand. I study aviation engineering, and next semester I have a simulator of the A320. I can't wait to prove myself to the teacher, starting the plane from dark and cold and dark. To be honest, last time I was flying with Daniel, actually, he took me to the fixed base A320 simulator, and that's quite easy, let's say. I mean, if you fly a 737, it's a bit different, but at the end of the day, it's quite easy. So if you see some YouTube videos, it will be just good to fly A320. And the difference I noticed, it's like the smaller the movements you do on A320, the better it flies. So basically you leave the stick, you don't touch the stick, and everything should be. And yes, Chkalov, COVID changed everything, so it's a disaster, but hopefully it will come to the end. anytime soon. We'll see. And yes, A320, I think it's easier. Especially the systems, the overhead panel is way easier because it's more automated than 737. Flying itself, it's a bit more unnatural. Like if you go from Cessna 180 or 170 or whichever Cessna you go to 737, you just feel like at home. All the yoke movements, etc., are quite similar to what you had before. And if you go to A320, you don't have to counteract for the wind and turbulence, etc. He just going itself. So she just going itself. So I don't know if it's easy or not, but it's different, definitely. But it's just a matter of getting used to. Flight award. What cities of Ukraine have you been to? So I've been basically to Lviv, Kiev, and Odessa so far. Basically, the cities with the airports. I mean, at least cities with the major airports. And in Kiev, I have visited both of the airports. So I've been in Juliane and Borispol. And I was surprised a bit about Borispol. Like, Borispol was really modern airfield. You have 70 hours this month. Quite good here in Russia. Yeah, my friends in Ryanair and Enterer, they do have like 20 to 40 hours, so still it's not really good. And the airlines are still hiring because they want to have the pilot base. So they hire you, they don't pay you, they pay you just when you fly, and you're not flying, so they're not paying you, obviously. And it's at least better than the previous year, definitely. But it's still not really amazing. Yep, so we are approaching the top of descent. I will pre-select 150 initially. In Canaries, they will give you 200, yeah, 200-ish. Odessa is a nice place, especially in summertime. Wintertime is, just cold, like all places in Ukraine. But summertime was really beautiful, so I'm quite jealous about that. And you have the most important thing, which is the sea, which is making the life easier, of course. I know, like, if you're living next to the sea, you won't go there probably every day, but it's nice to have it anyway. So we're approaching top of descent over Tenerife Norte. Tenerife Norte, Tenerife Sur. And if you go to Tenerife, this island is like, if you go to the south, it's really nice and warm. And if you go like 40 kilometers to the north, it's cold and windy, so it's two words, at least from my experience. I mean, it's windy here as well, but all the Canaries are windy. Yeah, let's start descending. And yeah, I like Canaries. I want to go there next year, maybe, perhaps, if they open. So go back to charts and go back to top of descent. And top of descent, we should have 3 tons of fuel. We have 3.6 and we should use about 5.9 tons of fuel. We have used 5.6, which means we spared 300. Maybe because of the winds, or maybe because of the different payload or loading of the airplane. I don't know, but somehow we managed to spare 300. And Tenerife Norte, the place of the Tenerife disaster in 1977, so long time ago. Aeroflot bonds their future with Airbus family fleet 350, 320. To be honest, 350 looks like it's a nice airplane, so I mean 320 probably is as well, but I never had really big chance to fly Airbuses. But yes, it's like from the pilot perspective, it's like a bit too computerized. But one thing I have to admit about Airbus A320 is that the cockpit is super big, so you have like twice more space than this, and you don't have the yoke, so basically you have a lot of space in here. On A320, on 737 it's a bit confined space. But it's good for like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. But if you're flying Warsaw to Tenerife, which is 550, or 6 hours, or to Dubai, 6 hours to Dubai, that's just getting freaking uncomfortable, let's say. Where is the hardware? Yoke. No, I don't know how to switch on the yoke again. Yes, there we go. Basically, the reason the 737 doesn't have the fuel dumping is because it is certified to land at the maximum takeoff weight. So basically, if you're taking off with 79 tons of takeoff weight, which is the limit for most of the versions, you still can go back and land safely with these 79 tons, even if the maximum landing weight is 65. And heavy airplanes, like, you know, let's say A330, she has like maximum takeoff weight of 200, I don't know, don't want to lie, about 260 tons, and the maximum landing is like 160, so we're gonna lose like 100 tons of fuel. Whatever. No, I just messed something, but I somehow knew these weights, but the principle is that some airplanes are not certified to land overweighted, because of course they would be too heavy and they would cause the damage. So you have to have the fuel dumping system. I will check that. A330, I said A330 and maximum takeoff weight. Nah, I messed up. 242 is maximum takeoff and maximum landing weight is, yeah, I cannot find it now, and I just want to descend. Maximum landing weight 187, so that's basically like 55 tons. I'm after go around, so why did you do go around, Daniel? What happened? I will check you on the VATSIM in a second. What happened to you? Where are you? You're here. Very nice, very nice. And go around is always a good decision. Unless you are on fire or you don't have fuel, but otherwise it's a good decision. And once I was flying to Łódź, which is the airport is in Central Europe. It's a controlled airport, and they have some glider traffic, and there was Ryanair approaching on the ILS, and there was a glider joining final to the grass runway next to the concrete, and the ATC guy was going like, glider 1, 2, 3, 4, go around, go around. I say again, go around, and at the end of the day he didn't go around for some reason. So that was one of the weirdest stories about the ATC and go arounds. Okay, so belts are on, and we passed 300, so we go back to 25 bank angle, and we should be landing anytime soon. At 200 we should be around 15 minutes to landing. Yeah, ish, 15 minutes to landing. So we all set up. And now I just hope I won't screw it up too much if I do have this kind of viewers. Kraków to Odessa, 24 hours traveling, that's bad. And then you take the airplane, which takes like, what, 1 hour 40 minutes? And okay guys, before we are landing, if you do like the channel, please give me a like below the video to support me, and subscribe it so we can see another videos. Anyway, thanks all for joining up today. I appreciate. Yeah, I know. It's same like everywhere. And once you get to the new type, they will just ask you to do another 1000 hours on the right seat before you move. So and basically changing the company or changing the type before you upgrade, it's not a good idea, to be honest. I can tell you as a more experienced colleague that the best way to do it is, like, of course, if you can. If you cannot because the company is quitting the type, you can't. But if you can, try to get like 1000 hours on type, and then you basically save heaven. If you got 4000 total, 1000 PIC hours as a commander, then you are totally safe. Even in COVID, you can still find some job. And I will open the chart in here. As you see, we are already approaching Aracco, and after Aracco we go to this one. And actually, when I'm flying the Honda Jet, I do have this kind of map in here, and I have this position, etc. So 737 is really far behind the modern aviation. And next we do approach landing checklist, and then we go to this one. Yes. So we'll start to descend to 4,500, or actually 3,400, as there is no ATC anyway. 3,400 set QNH 1019er. It has changed already. 11,800 descent, 3,400 standby set, and I have no flight. So frequencies, I have 389er, which is the NTB, which I want to have on the needle 1, Bravo X-ray. I didn't standby instrument set. Courses, I have 350, 350, and renderings are in 12 and 6, and I can go to approach checklist. Approach checklist, that's quite a quick one. Altimeter is 109 set 3 times, and that's 10,800. Back to the airport and passing 10,000 feet, so 10 checks. Fuel is balanced. We have 4 pumps. Lights are coming to on. Air compress is descending set. Angle bank is 25, and passengers are strapped. Recall checked. 10 minutes to landing. 10 minutes to landing, please. So if I have 737 audience in here, I don't want to screw up the landing, at least not too much. So probably I will, because why not? Yeah, I just go speed intervent and I reduce speed to 30. I don't want to go too fast on these kind of approaches. And I would usually see the runway already. Is it thunderstorm? No, it's just a simulator. Data link, AOC, requests, message. And we have broken 3,010 kilometers, so it should be nicely visible. So I go approach ref and progress on the right side, and what can I say else? The NDB approach, technically we could fly in heading select, but the best way to fly the NDB approach is to have this overlay, follow the LNAV and VNAV, and just monitor that on the needles. Otherwise you can do it heading select, but it's just messing it up, at least in my opinion and my previous company's SOPs. I want to have it like this, please. And now we're entering the arc, and the arc has the speed restriction. Now it doesn't have any speed restriction here, although I want to go back to 210, or actually even back up speed. I still have 19 miles to run. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If I do crash or something, I'm gonna be famous in Russia and all around the world for 737 pilot crashing on approach to La Palma. on the simulator. So at least I would be famous, so that's still something, yeah? I go with flaps 1. That's quite early at 17 miles outbound, but you don't want to speed up during this turn. And flaps 1 we have. Usually we would get the would get probably cabin secure at this point. So I go flaps 5. Some speed brake, and I go seats for landing, please, seats for landing. What about the ion system? I guess, shame to say it, but I don't know the abbreviation of that. Instrument approach system. No, it's something with the PBNs, yeah? I will double check that later on, so definitely I'm quite interested. Approach heading 350, and the runway heading itself, it's 004, so that's 14 degrees of offset. That's not really massive offset, but we have to keep that in mind. So at the moment I do have 5,000 hours-ish, and out of this I have 3,900 on 7.3 and approximately 1,000 of BAC hours, so that's kind of my experience. Flaps 10 please. And I have flaps 10 selected. So we are on track, and then we do have the
1,000 to go.
NDB checked. At 8 miles we should have 3260, and I have this DME here, so I'm gonna set the minimums of 1700. I should see the runway anytime soon. Ah, come on, there is some guy there. So I just believe he will be standing on the freaking runway when I land, so. Are you serious? Back. Yeah, he's just... Ah, he just landed. TUI Jet 40 Hotel on final 36 in La Palma. So this vertical deviation is showing that I'm too high, even if I'm not too high. Progress 4, I'm just on profile. 3,400 at FAF, no flags, and next is distance 83230. I can go gear down, flaps 15, arm the speed brake, and clear to land, let's say, so all lights on. And at distance 7 I should be 2890, so just on profile, flaps 40, and speeds go to 142, 142. And landing checklist, so landing checklist, engine start switch continuous, speed brake arm light, landing gear down to green, and flaps I have 40, green light, landing checklist completed, and I'm gonna need to monitor that. Terrain noted, at distance 6 I should be 2540, which is pretty much good. At distance 5, 2220, and yeah, that's the runway. Yes, this guy just vacated, so I will just follow that. For now we'll follow on the VNAV, and afterwards I will go back to manual flying. So, miss approach altitude 3000 feet set, and I do have, yeah, come on, of course. At 4 miles I should be 1850. 1850, just on profile, approaching minimums, and I do have contact, so disconnect the autopilot, disconnect the auto throttle. I have to do it by here because I don't have any button on this, and I don't recycle flight directors in here. I could, but I don't have to. And for some reason she went to VNAV speed, yeah, which is completely senseless. So I go to recycle flight directives, and we just follow the visual. If you go too close to the mountain, it will just go terrain pull up, so you don't want to go too close there. 140, and this guy has vacated. I'm on 3 reds, so correcting that, correcting the speed. I've been in La Palma just once, so, and was like quite a long time ago. And usually you would like to be at 500 feet with wings level, but in this airport you cannot really do that. So you can reduce that to 300. And do you need flaps 40? I don't need, but it will give me 200 meters extra stopping distance, so I want to have this 200 meters. Stable, continue. And I do follow the PAPIs, and there is some uphill as you see, so you have to take it into account so we don't smash the runway too hard. Speed brakes up, reversers, and I go full reverse, of course. Now I can go back to idle slowly, 80 knots, manual braking. And according to the local procedures, I do have to roll all the way down to the runway anyway. I see the stream got a bit shitty, to be honest, but can't do much. And you don't have to close the reversers until you really get to the taxi speed. So once you get to 10 knots or something. Yeah, it's just lagging. I just saw that it's lagging for some reason. So of course the most important moment. And as I told you before, I'm in the hotel, so I can't really do anything about it, so I'm Wi-Fi dependent in here. And I will start the APU. And to Jet 40 Hotel, vacated, taxiing to Terminal La Palma. So once we leave the runway, I will just stop for a second, set the parking brake, clean it up, and yes, this lights off, lights off, lights off, AP on boss. I would leave the taxi light on, strobe lights off, clean up the MCP, and transponder alt off, flight directors off, and we are pretty much done with everything. And basically, if you are a single pilot of this airplane, you don't want to attempt taxiing before you clean it up, so don't try to, you know, mess up in the cockpit and try to taxi in the same time. You always have time to stop. Of course, vacate the runway and then stop, but lights off. And I will take this tent number 10. So again, if you want to turn here, you overshoot it a lot. Yeah, sounds about right. And then start turning, which is too early anyway. Air Baltic. And if you overshoot it this much, it's kind of on the center line. Yeps, yeah, I was too quick and it's downhill. So parking brake set, AP on bosses, back to cut off, seatbelts off, now smoking off, and we will wait until 20% of N2. Beacon off. And since it's the last flight of the day, IRS can go to off, fuel pumps off except one for the APU. All the probe heat and window heat is off, hydraulics pumps off, packs all set, lights steady, MCP set, transponder standby 2000. And that's pretty much done. So the fuel, we have 3.1, we should have 2.7, we have 400 extra, landing rating great, approach rating great. So that's not really relevant as I told you before, but it's nice to check. Air stairs, GPU set chocks. I go on ground power, APU is off, fuel pump off, and I go to the shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps off, probe heat is off, hydraulic panel set, flaps up, parking brake set, engine start levers cut off, weather radar off, and that shutdown checklist completed. And we're gonna wait until everybody will leave and then do this secure checklist. And in the meantime, I will try to answer your chat questions. Yes. So, of course, I had big lag in the landing, so that's of course the Murphy law. So anyway, guys, welcome to La Palma. Thank you very much for flying with us today. I do hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope I will see you on the next streams. So As you probably know, I do have as well 737-300, which I flew in real life as well. So I have some experience on that, and I like flying that one. So maybe we'll fire it up on the next stream. And 200s, I do have 200, but I never flew it. It's not much different than 800 though, except the navigation systems. Anyway, once again, thanks for coming, and I do believe then everybody just left the airplane, so we put all the lights down. Oops, come on. All the screens down, everything should be just dimmed. FMC, left and right. And lower DU, where is the lower DU? She's just behind the yoke. Then we go here. And put the lights down in here. And since we done everything like this, we put the emergency lights to off, ground power to off. Wait until it's done beeping and battery going back to off. Since now we can switch off the iPad. Yeah, and now I cannot do the shutdown checklist, huh? Secure checklist. Yeah, I don't know how to switch on the iPad, so secure checklist will be IRS, window heat, packs, trimmer, emergency exit lights, and that's it. So then we can leave the airplane and enjoy the place. Once again, thank you very much, folks, and I see you next time. Thank you very much. See you. Fly safe, guys. I'm gonna leave it on for chat for a couple of minutes, but basically we are out.
Bo ona do stacji leci. Halo, cześć.
Hej, hej.
Jak tam? Tak,
tak. Powiedzmy streamuję.
ja Oeranda zrobiłem, bo się zagapiłem. No, pokręciłem kopę. O, na twoim streamie nas słychać właśnie.